Now, knowing you, I know that you're aware of the things that people are saying. You're moving up in two-weight classes. You're the smaller man. Whatever you do, Terence Crawford, don't exchange against them. What do you feel you have to do?
Be myself. I'm 41-0 for a reason.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career.
For more than 20 years, people believed Floyd's flawless 50-0 record would never be touched. He was the ghost in the ring, a defensive genius who made legends look average. But in one historic night, a single explosive comment from the only man who had faced them both threatened to shake that entire monument. The argument wasn't just about who was greater anymore. It was about whether Mayweather's entire era had just been overshadowed. The firestorm began the moment Terence Crawford's hand was raised against Canelo Alvarez after a masterful performance, where Crawford did what many thought was impossible.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight.
But the real shock came at the post-fight press conference. When asked to compare Crawford with his former opponent Floyd Mayweather, Canelo didn't flinch. With the world's media hanging on every word, he said it straight.
If you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence "Bud" Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Coming from the only fighter alive to share the ring with both men, this wasn't just an opinion, it was a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the sport. That single statement lit a fire under a debate that had been smoldering for years, and it pulled in a powerful voice. StephenASmith, watching closely from the sidelines, was immediately captivated by what he saw. Like many, he expected Crawford to rely on technical skill, keep his distance, and outbox the bigger, stronger man. But that's not what went down.
Well, I appreciate Crawford making my prediction come through. Coming into the fight, I had him winning by decision. I thought he was the superior boxer. I thought he would be able to take a punch. And as long as he didn't stay there and exchange with Canelo, I thought he could do it. What surprised me is that there were times during the fight, he did stand there and exchange with Canelo and took it. Took some body shots to the liver, took some headshots, exchanged, and still ended up winning this fight. I thought from the 8th round on, he just put on a boxing clinic. But I gotta give credit where credit is due. Crawford deserved to win the fight.
Smith was stunned that Crawford didn't just survive. He walked straight into the fire and traded shots with Canelo, showing he had more than skill, he had grit. As Smith put it, what I didn't expect was for him to stand in there and exchange, and survive. And Crawford did it over and over. That's why Smith gave him so much credit. He even broke down the fight, scoring it 5-4 for Crawford after 9, before Crawford put on a clinic in the final stretch to win the last 3 rounds clearly. He ate Canelo's power and came back swinging, thriving in moments where a smaller man should have folded.
Crawford's a special fighter because he's got a mean streak. He doesn't back up from anything. He's usually the superior boxer in the ring. He finds a way to win. No matter who he's going up against, no matter what power you have, what boxing skills you have, he is truly a generational kind of fighter. He wants to go in the ring and not just beat you, but show you he was the better man. And he's not one who believes that just a knockout does that. He likes outboxing you and showing you that his skill level is superior to yours. And he showed it tonight.
Stephen A. called it a masterclass. But even while blown away by the performance, he wasn't ready to dethrone the king. Because he remembered another kind of master, a phantom in the ring that Crawford, for all his heart, still wasn't.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career with one hand. he constantly broke his hand.
Yeah.
He would go into a ring knowing he had no shot at knocking somebody out because his hands were hurt too much, and literally walked in the ring and said, I'm going to embarrass you and humiliate you by showing the world you can't hit me.
This is where StephenASmith drew the line, making a key distinction that flipped the entire debate. He reminded everyone that Floyd Mayweather was a defensive enigma, a magician whose main mission was winning without taking damage. With hands notoriously brittle and worn down through the latter half of his career, Floyd knew he couldn't depend on knockout power. This wasn't speculation, it was a well-documented reality.
Floyd Mayweather looks me in my face and he says, I'm going to take him out about the 8th or 9th round. And I said, your hand's always broken. You ain't known for your punching power since you moved up from lightweight to welterweight. Why are you so sure you're going to do this? He said, Stephen A., he's a UFC fighter. He said, and he's a striker. He's accustomed to coming at you and throwing punches. What he's not accustomed to doing is punching while he's throwing backwards, while he's moving backwards and pushing you off of him. He says, I'm going to walk right into him and stay in his chest. He's going to have to push me off in order to throw his punches. He said he's going to be circling the ring. He said by around 4 or 5, he's not going to have any legs. He's going to be done. And he said, and I'll just toy with him and keep him around until around the 8th or the 9th round. And that is exactly what Floyd Money Mayweather did. He told me exactly what he was going to do, and he did it.
He's the man.
In fact, Mayweather himself admitted his hands were extremely fragile. He revealed he couldn't even spar for a full month before the Conor McGregor fight because of the pain.
You hurt your hand? Right here. Huh? I thought you hurt your hand myself. Okay. All right. Relax, baby. The job is done. All right.
Put in a bucket of ice, man. Get a bucket of ice. It's killing me.
I'm saying Shane hit me with a hell of a shot. Okay. Actually, 2 shots. Oh, okay. But even in that particular round, what I said to Shane was this. I was like,
you said something to him when you grabbed him.
I said, you got to kill me.
Oh, shit. I wasn't ready, Floyd.
I said, that was a good one. I said, that was a good one, but you got to kill me. Wow. I said, you got to kill me. And then I'm not going to lie. I meant it.
Adding to the controversy, reports have long suggested that in the second half of his career, Mayweather fought almost exclusively in Las Vegas, one of the few places that allowed fighters to use numbing injections like xylocaine for hand pain. That detail hinted his hand issues weren't just minor setbacks, but a driving factor in where and how he fought. Still, despite all of it, he became untouchable.
Rocky Marciano was 49-0. Before Floyd got to 50-0, he was a heavyweight champ. Did anyone ever consider Rocky Marciano the GOAT? No, not seriously, no. Then why would Floyd be considered the GOAT? Because he beat more fighters than Rocky did, more great ones? That's true. But really, Floyd was careful in the way he selected opponents. Don't get that twist. It's not that Floyd didn't fight a lot of great fighters. He did. It's not that I don't think he would have beaten a lot of the tougher fighters than he fought. I think he probably would have, but he didn't do it. He waited. He waited till Pacquiao wasn't at his best anymore. He didn't fight Margarito when Margarito was tearing everyone up. He waited for the right time to fight people. He got paid twice as much for fighting Pacquiao in a less dangerous fight than he would have had he fought him when everyone wanted to see him fight. Floyd is among the all-time greats, but he ain't number one.
Trainer Greg Hackett backed this view, stressing that the Floyd who faced Canelo was a complete fighter with an immaculate, polished style. A sharp contrast to Crawford's wilder, more aggressive approach.
I can't say he's capping. I can't, because I don't know what he felt. But when I heard that, what I think is, when Floyd beat me, I was 23, I wasn't polished. When Bud beat me, I was the man. I was the man. And he beat me fair and square. He beat me at my game and he beat me at his game. That's why Canelo said that. Do I believe that? It's tough to believe. But I can only take Canelo's word because he's the man that's been in the ring with both of them. But I understand why he said it. I was a kid when I fought Floyd. He wasn't a kid literally, but he was young. He was young. There was a lot he didn't know. There was a lot he didn't understand about boxing that he later on learned and got better. But Bud beat the better version of me, even though it's the ran down version. I'm saying that because it is some wear and tear there with Canelo. I've been saying it the whole time. When a guy got almost 70 fights in current time, with all those big camps he's been doing and all that, trust me, it's some wear and tear there. I'm not making excuses for Canelo. I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's what it gives it that air.
I also think you got to remember when you talking about a Mexican fighter, they big on punishment. He might also feel Crawford punches harder than Floyd and took more chances than Floyd took. Floyd really was super speed that night. Everything speed. And it irritated Canelo because Canelo couldn't do what he wanted to do. And he looked nothing like himself. Like I said, I think it was just times where Canelo felt like, damn, I could have had him. With Floyd, I think he felt like paralyzed. Like, damn, I can't catch this motherfucker. He too fast. But with Crawford, I felt like he maybe was saying, damn, I could have, if I would have threw this or if I would have did that. You know what I mean? Because it was times Crawford sat there and caught a punch and countered back. You know what I'm saying? He let Canelo throw, like, go ahead, throw your shit. He caught that shit, boom, and come right back with the hook. Same shot he caught Earl with. He was touching Canelo with some of that same shit, man. And it was just like, and it was times where Crawford was imposing himself on Canelo. He was stepping to Canelo at times. He didn't do it the whole fight, but I'm just saying it was times he stepped to him. Floyd did too, but Floyd just was so fast, so much faster. And the education was like totally different. Like when Canelo fought Floyd, Canelo was in middle school. He wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Floyd by that time was already a Harvard graduate. You know what I'm saying? So.
Can't say that. I think that Floyd Mayweather was such a magician defensively. And we have to look at Floyd Money Mayweather in this regard. Once he moved up to welterweight, his hands were always damaged. So you kind of knew he wasn't going to be able to knock you out for the most part. And still, he walked into the ring and put on masterful performances because he was so superior, skill-wise and defensively. You can't say enough. Tonight with Crawford, for example, we saw him take a punch on several occasions. With Floyd, we didn't see that too often because you couldn't hit him. That's the difference.
Crawford, meanwhile, absorbed punches from Canelo and proved his chin along with his toughness. But in StephenA's eyes, the very fact he had to prove it was what separated him from Floyd. Before the back and forth could spiral, many pointed to a simpler truth. The two fighters were products of different eras. This wasn't only about skill, it was about time. Terence Crawford himself acknowledged that reality with humility, saying, Floyd is the best fighter in his era, and I feel like I'm the best fighter in mine.
He just got something that I want.
And it's not just the title, it's what else?
It's everything. He got everything. And I'm coming to get it.
When you beat him, you'll have everything.
That's right.
This angle adds an important layer of nuance, showing that greatness isn't a straight line but a crown worn only in the era a fighter dominates. Age also complicates the comparison. Floyd's own uncle, Jeff Mayweather, reminded everyone that Floyd was already 36 and past his prime when he faced a young Canelo, a detail that makes stacking a peak Crawford against a veteran Canelo far from a fair side-by-side.
Well, also if we remember, Canelo at that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. C.J. Ross had it with what a lot of people had as a draw. And then the other two judges scored it for Floyd, of course.
Yeah, nobody had it.
And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience, and he still took him, into deep waters. So
what was Canelo? What, 20-something? 20 what? 23, 25?
Yeah, he was. Very, very young in the game, obviously.
Very young. He had more fights than Floyd, and he lost.
Yeah, but
man, that was 30-something years old, 36.
But Floyd was clearly at the top of his career, and Canelo had fought a lot of people. But
how you at the top of your career in your prime? You in your prime? You ain't in your prime when you're at 36.
It shifts the debate away from who's better head-to-head, and instead frames it as two kings reigning over entirely different chapters in boxing history.
We've had a lot of comparisons between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terence and Floyd. And I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who would win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd would win that
yes,
fight.
Yes, sir. I love you, Terence.
Always figures it out.
Yeah,
he's a chess master.
Yeah, his IQ in that
shit. The funny thing
crazy.
about it is Terence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Anybody else? Yeah.
There's an OG
Somebody
somewhere.
got to pioneer, right? Yeah, you got to.
There's an OG you can't out figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out-figure out.
While arguments over primes and defensive styles will always spark debate, one fact stands untouched. Terence Crawford owns an achievement that Floyd Mayweather never came close to reaching.
In accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
By defeating Canelo, Crawford became the first male boxer in history to hold undisputed championships across 3 separate weight divisions. The moment was so monumental that modern boxing powerhouse Turki Alashik instantly labeled him the fighter of the century. To put it in perspective, while Mayweather claimed titles in 5 weight classes, he never unified all 4 belts in any of them. Crawford, meanwhile, swept entire divisions 3 times over. That contrast alone speaks volumes about their legacies. This wasn't luck, it was strategy and sacrifice. Crawford later explained how his camp was laser-focused on building strength, preparing his body for every ounce of punishment Canelo could deliver. That level of precision etched Crawford's name into history with a distinction even Mayweather couldn't match. But their careers diverged in more ways than belts. Floyd Mayweather wasn't just a fighter, he was the CEO of his own empire. As Max Kellerman pointed out, once Floyd moved up from lightweight, his career became a masterclass in business. He carefully chose opponents, dictated timing, and orchestrated every deal to ensure risk always balanced perfectly with reward.